played a golf tournament last week that over at Holy Rock. I'm telling you, they were really singing.
Yeah.
Same at our club. I mean, it's been pretty noisy.
Okay. Well, Natalie, we're almost at 9 o'clock. Looking around the room, it appears, Madam Secretary, as if we have the entire roster of members on the line. So I'll wait until the 9 o'clock hour and kick off. I don't think we're missing.
You got everybody.
It looks like the whole team is here. It's good.
That is correct, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, as always. Don't know what we'd do without you and Ebony. We tell Jim that all the time. Okay, it is now 9 o'clock. Good morning. My name is Sean Powell, and I'll be serving as the acting chairman for today's MDTA board meeting. I hereby call the meeting to order of the MDTA board at 9 a.m. Chairman Slater is participating at the WMATA board today and does send his regrets. He hopes to join us next time. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the live streaming law, this meeting is being conducted via video conference and is being live streamed on the MDTA board webpage. All members will have their video active during the entirety of the meeting. I do ask that anyone who is presenting or answering a question to please turn your video and audio on when speaking. And when you are finished, please turn your video and put your audio on mute. To minimize background noise during the call, I would ask that everyone on the line please mute your phones except when speaking. For those of you who are watching this meeting via live stream, we have posted the materials for today's meeting on the MDTA board webpage so that you can follow along if you wish. Before we begin, I would like to thank Natalie, Ebony, and the rest of the team for preparing the meeting as usual. Information got to us in a timely fashion. They both do a great job of herding cats prior to each month's meeting, and we are very thankful for their efforts and the entire team in prepping for these meetings. Also, I would like to take a second to acknowledge Colonel Anderson and his team on how they handled a very difficult situation a couple of weeks ago at the BWI airport. Unfortunately, incident ended in an unfortunate manner, but his team, as always, displayed professionalism, and they just always go above and beyond, and they kept us in the loop on everything that was happening. So Colonel, please pass along to your team the thanks from everyone here. And I would also like to welcome two former MDTA employees, Senior Officer Vance Belcher and Miss Annette Williams, to the meeting. They will be receiving MDTA retirement resolutions during agenda item number 3, and we welcome you both to this morning's meeting.
Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
this is
ma'am.
Natalie.
Yes, ma'am.
Neither of them have signed in yet. When we get to resolutions, we'll check again to see if they've made it onto the meeting.
Okay, great, thank you. And I'm sorry, I should have asked you prior. So hopefully they will be able to join us, because this is really nice. We're able to recognize our retirees. I mean, we're sorry to lose people, but you know, they have earned the right to enjoy their years. I believe there are no other members of the public or elected officials or members of the media who have registered to comment at this morning's meeting. Is that correct, Natalie?
That is correct, sir.
Great, thank you. So at this time, we'll kick off the meeting with today's agenda. We start off with 2 approval items. The first is the open meeting minutes of the May 20th, 2021 meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to take a look?
Yes, Mary, I'll move for approval.
Sounds like Member Gangemi for a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Member Gaines.
Member Gaines is the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries unanimously, Madam Secretary. The next item up for approval are the open and closed session meeting minutes of the June 8th, 2021 meeting. So any questions or concerns with those?
It's Mary, I'll move
Cox,
for
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Member Gangemi beat you to it, so Member Cox,
Okay,
would you
fine.
amend to a second? Okay, thank you. Member Gangemi's quick on the draw this morning.
No
All
problem.
right, so Member Gangemi and then Member Cox on the second. Any further discussion or any discussion at all? Excellent, thank you. With that, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. The motion carries unanimously, and you will be receiving in your inbox shortly the signed copies in which you instructed me to get to you as soon as possible. Item number 3 is the years of service recognition. Have our retirees joined us at this point?
Sir, I do not see them on the participants list.
Okay, we can kind of hold them till the end without any objection from the board, if that's okay, assuming, if they show up. Great. I'll move them to the right before Mary O'Keefe's Executive Director's report. Okay, the next item that we have is another approval item. It's going to be the fiscal year 2021 operating budget amendment number 4. And presenting today is Ms. Christina Thompson. So Christina, you have the floor.
Okay. Good morning. I'm here to request approval to amend the fiscal year 21 operating budget by an increase of $8 million. This represents an increase of 2.6% above the amended 21 operating budget. According to the trust agreement, the budget can be amended anytime during the current fiscal year. Throughout the course of this fiscal year, MDTA staff has implemented numerous measures to constrain costs. However, this year has been anything but ordinary, which has resulted in the need for multiple budget amendments. The first amendment reduced the budget by $19 million in response to declining revenues associated with COVID-19 and other customer-focused business decisions. The second amendment increased the budget by $1.4 million to restore COLA for civilians and grant a step for police. The third amendment was for the $1,000 bonus for all employees. COLA step and bonus were granted by the governor. Consistent with the MDTA board's direction, staff worked diligently to identify savings to cover the costs related to the employee bonuses and restoration of COVID-19 response pay for the police. Savings were identified within salaries and benefits. However, there are other items that will be overspent due to an increase in costs. The most significant area where projected spending is expected to exceed the budget is Easy Pass Service Center costs. The overspending of roughly $8 million is primarily the result of not rolling over fiscal 20 underspending when video tolling mailings were paused, increased video toll transactions as a result of AET, and transition delays. In order to sustain toll revenue, MDTA did not take action to reduce the processing of backlog transactions to reduce operating costs. The proposed amendment is needed to ensure that fiscal 21 expenses do not exceed the budget and violate the trust agreement. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Christina. Any questions for Christina? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve FY21 operating budget amendment number 4. Member Von Paris, the motion. Do I have a second?
Member Carroll, second.
Member Carroll's a second. Any further discussion? Okay, thank you. With that, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Madam Secretary. The vote was unanimous. Next up is we're still on another approval item. This will be for the fiscal year 2022 final operating budget. So this is our approval item for that. And Mr. Jeffrey Brown will be presenting. So Mr. Brown, you're up.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name, for the record, is Jeffrey Brown, Budget Director for the MDTA, and I'm here to provide a review and presentation for approval the final full year 2022 operating budget. The proposed operating budget reflects updated operations to align with the new realities as we emerge from the impact of COVID-19. And this includes it also includes the full transition to all electronic tolling. The proposed budget is $360.8 million, which is a $26.5 million or 7.9% increase above the full year 22 preliminary budget. Due to the COVID-19 cost containment actions that had occurred in previous years, we feel it's most appropriate to compare to the preliminary full year 22 budget instead of the amended 21 budget. The preliminary 22 budget represented a post-COVID-19 budget, but it did not account for full year 2021 transactions that were to be processed in full year 2022 or the full transition to all electronic tolling. And you can see in table 1, there's a graphical comparison of the various budgets. In addition, in table 2 and attachment 1, both compare the preliminary budget to the recommended full year FY22 operating budget. Table 2 provides a higher level summary, while attachment 1 goes into a little bit more detail. The total salaries and benefits increased by 1.1 million, or 0.6% increase. Civilian and police increased by 0.9 million. The net effect between the two is due to two major issues. The first is a one-time $500 bonus, some police step increases, COLAs, and a fiscal series classification upgrade. All these combined to increase the budget by 3.7 million. There was also a personnel turnover reduction. This was a realignment to 5.3%, and this was done to be more in line with historical activity. This decreased the budget by 2.8 million, and the net effect of the two was the 0.9. The Maryland State Police budget increased by 0.2 million as well. Moving on to non-personnel budgets. The non-personnel budget increased 25.4 million, or 17.5%, and this was primarily due to toll collection costs. For communications, object 3, there was an increase of 132,000, and this was primarily due to telecommunications sub-object 0303 of 125,000, and that was to enable GPS location for radios. Vehicle and operations and maintenance, object 7, increased 236,000. This was primarily due to the sub-object purchased vehicle 0701, and this was an increase of 241,000 to replace damaged, destroyed, or lost vehicles. Contractual service, object 8, increased 26.8 million, and these were due to the toll collection costs mentioned earlier. Easy Pass Service Center costs, object 0873, increased 22.4 million, and this was driven by the increased transaction volumes due to the full year 2021 backlog and the migration to full all electronic tolling. These expenses are expected to decrease in subsequent years with the backlog completion, and as we increase Easy Pass usage and we adopt other payment options such as mobile applications. Easy Pass retail fees increased 4.2 million, and this was due to the increased volumes in electronic toll payments. Janitorial services 0813 increased 333,000. This was due to a new Point Breeze contract, the weekend cleaning at certain facilities, and facilities that were previously closed due to construction have reopened and require cleaning. Building repairs and maintenance 0812 increased 333,000, and this is due to increased traffic control devices, expected sludge removal, and contracts for roof and fire extinguisher inspections. Supplies and materials, object 9, decreased 1.4 million. This was driven by Easy Pass transponders, which decreased 1.5 million due to a continued inventory drawdown and reduced contract costs. The Maryland State Police non-personnel costs decreased 461,000. This was primarily due to a reduced overhead rate. Finally, all the remaining non-personnel costs increased 158,000 across all the remaining sub-objects. This completes my review. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Great. Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Brown? Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I don't have a question, but in our finance committee meeting, I made a recommendation that we postpone approval on this until after item 7, since that refers to our revenue as well, so that we can see that our covenants are in alignment before we approve the budget.
Okay. Do we have any objection to us moving item 5 to?
So I would actually suggest that we move items 5 and 6 to after 7, or at least hear 7 first before we can make before we can register approval.
Okay, so any opposition to jumping right to item number 7? And then we'll pop back for, we've heard number 5, and then we can have number 6. I'll make sure I'm keeping track of this. Are we okay with doing that?
Chairman Powell,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
would recommend that we let Jeannie present the capital budget first, so that if there's questions or discussion about the capital budget, they can be discussed, but hold that approval until after I present item 7, and then
Okay.
just go back for approval, but actually present the budget at this time.
Go ahead and present number 6. Member Rosen, is that fine?
That's fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. Any other concerns about that? Great. Okay, so what we'll do is I have to remember, and Natalie, please remind me if I forget. We'll need to come back for approval for, well, actually it'll be pretty easy. We'll have to approve 5, 6, and 7. So now we'll have Jeannie go ahead and do item number 6.
Okay, good morning. I'm
Good
Jeannie
morning.
Marriott, the Capital Program Manager, and I'm here to ask for your approval of the proposed fiscal year 22 to 27 draft CTP. The draft CTP was recommended for approval by the Capital and Finance Committees at their meetings earlier this month. The 6-year fiscal year 22 to 27 budget in the proposed CTP is $2.8 billion. This reflects a net increase in the 6-year budget of $90.4 million. And attachment 1 shows a breakdown of these changes that went into the $90.4 million increase. First, there was an increase in the 6-year budget by $45.7 million for the Nice Middleton Bridge project. There's a decrease of $5.2 million for the I-95 ETL Northern Extension. There's an increase of $90.1 million for all projects except the Nice Middleton Bridge, the I-95 ETL Northern Extension, and the reserves. And the allocated and unallocated reserves decreased by $40.2 million. In column number 1, we see that fiscal year 21 expenditures are projected to be $471.7 million versus the $549.5 million in the final fiscal year 21 to 26 CTP. The underspending is projected to be $78 million and has been rolled over into the draft CTP, into the 22 to 27 time period. Attachment number 2 shows the changes by project. There are 3 system preservation projects and 2 enhancement projects added for an increase of $17.7 million. There were 7 projects adjusted to reflect bids received for a net decrease of $7.2 million. 4 contracts were lower and 3 contracts were higher than the engineer's estimate. The construction phase of 4 projects was funded for a total of $16.2 million transferred from the reserves as design reached 60% level and cost estimates were developed on fully developed scopes. 3 projects were completed and 2 projects were deleted for a net decrease of $1.1 million. And there were 38 active projects that were modified due to cost changes and cash flow adjustments for a net increase of $105 million. The allocated reserves decreased by $40.1 million, and the unallocated reserves remain the same at $25 million. The result of all the project and reserve changes is an increase of $90.4 million. And then there are 2 charts after this. On page 43 is a chart that shows where are the projects. It has the allocations by location. The Kennedy Highway and Nice Middleton Bridge facilities make up almost half of the entire 6-year budget, and that's due to the Nice Middleton Bridge replacement and the I-95 Northern Extension. And then on page 44 is a chart showing what are the categories of projects. And these allocations are shown by type of work, safety and capacity improvements, and the bridge replacements once again make up about half of the 6-year budget, and that's due to the bridge replacement, the Nice Middleton Bridge replacement, some bridge replacements in the Kennedy Highway Northern ETL extension, and then that also makes up the safety and capacity improvements. Well, the bulk of the safety and capacity improvements is for the northbound extension. And I'm asking for your approval of the proposed draft CTP, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you, Jeannie. Do we have any questions for Jeannie? Okay. And we, as of course, we'll move this to approval items number 5 and 6 after Deb does her financial forecast. So thank you, Jeannie. Jeannie and
Okay,
Jeff, stay tuned. We may have questions after the financial forecast. So thank you.
Okay, I'll be here.
Okay, great. Next up, item number 7 on the agenda is financial forecast approval for the submission to the legislature. So up will be Deb Sharpless. Deb, take it away.
Good morning. Thank you. For the record, I'm Deb Sharpless, Chief Financial Officer for MDTA. For clarity, this forecast, we are asking for approval because it's our standard process. We will likely bring an updated forecast back to you to be submitted to the legislature in just a couple months. So the reason for it is we're working on an updated traffic and revenue, and the goal is just to present the most current information available when we make that submission. So I'm referring to the financial forecast, the Excel file in your materials, and throughout the entire reporting period, MDTA is in compliance with its financial standards, including FY21, which we'll talk more about in revenue in a second. FY21 and 22 reflects a $72 million reduction in 21 from the official traffic and revenue forecast that we had, and it shifts $56 million into 2022. It also incorporates the any operating budget amendments that have been approved, including the budget amendment that you just approved a few minutes ago. You can see that we show we're in compliance, actually with a $72 million reduction in revenue. We are at 2.7 times debt service coverage. When we look forward into FY22 and beyond, I'm referring to the peach area down at the bottom. You see that we are at or above our $350 million unencumbered balance. In the years that you see us coming very close to $350 million, that's the years in which we have bond sales planned for the ETL extension and Nice Bridge. And when I refer to a bond sale, I'm also referring to a TIFIA loan drawdown. And so in those years, we only borrow what we need in order to maintain our standards, and that's why you see us dropping close to $350 million. Right underneath of that, second from the bottom line, is debt service coverage. And you can see throughout the reporting period, we maintain our standard of 2 times coverage. And then our rate covenant is the last line, which the requirement is 1 times. And you can also see throughout the entire reporting period, we maintain that standard. This forecast reflects the official traffic and revenue forecast we had last fall, which was adjusted for both COVID and AET, in addition to the adjustment I just mentioned in FY21 and 22. It reflects the operating budget that Chris presented a few minutes ago for FY22. And then in 23, any one-time expenses are backed out of that budget. An example would be backlog. It is not an ongoing expense. And then from 23 on, the budget is grown consistent with assumptions in prior forecasts. Debt service assumes current debt service as well as any debt service for future bond sales. The capital budget, it reflects the budget that Jeannie just presented to you a second ago. And then underneath of that, sort of 2/3 of the way down, is inflows and outflows of cash associated with bond sales, repayments of loans, items such as that. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Deb. Do we have any questions for Deb?
This
Okay.
is Member Artinger.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just looking at your analysis and the first section where it says increase revenue through the forecast period. And so I understand that there's part of this is due to a shifting of revenue from one year to the next, but there's that slight difference. If I'm looking at this correctly, it looks like the shift is of 55 million. Oh, the shift is actually of 57 million, but the increase is only of 55 million. What happened to the 2 million?
So let me think for a second. So you're referring to FY22 and give me 1 second.
I love the fact she's actually using a calculator.
I know. I need to.
Takes me back to my banking days.
I lost my train of thought now, sorry. When putting the forecast together, I had verified this. So 21 is $72 million reduced. I thought the number was 56. So I need to do 539.6 plus 72 is 511.6. And then 22, 56, 671, 8. So remember, Arninger, when we're talking about $1 million here, it can very well be rounding, because we have 527,000, well, 527 million. I believe the 1 million we're talking about is rounding here.
Okay. So you think that 55 number in there should really be 56?
It's rounding. Because we're taking this out to, the 100th point, and yeah, it's
okay.
It's consistent with what we have said, that we reduced 21 and increased 22 for that shift, and even the shift has been conservative. Thinking, and then when it grows afterwards, because if you back out the 56 out of 22, we go from 672 to 713, and that is the continued recovery from COVID. Because 22, even with the shift is timing for processing. The growth from 22 to 23 is recovery from COVID, because 22's numbers, separate from the backlog shift, still reflects a constrained revenue budget to account for COVID.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any more questions for Deb while we have her? Okay. With that, okay, so let's go ahead and approve the financial forecast, since we just heard that. Do we have a motion to approve item number 7?
So moved. Member Rosen.
Member Roden.
Second.
Member Gaines is a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Madam Secretary, please reflect that the motion passed. Okay, so let's go, if I'm correct here, we need to go back and do 5 and 6. So item number 5 is the FY22 final operating budget. Did we have any other, after the financial forecast, any other questions for Mr. Brown or Ms. Sharpless, or are we ready to do an approval? Okay, with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 operating budget.
So moved, Member Cox.
Member Cox, motion. Do we have a second?
Member Artinger, I'll second.
Okay, Member Ardinger was seconding. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, now item number 6, the draft fiscal year 2022 to 2027 consolidated transportation program. Did we have any additional questions or any questions for Jeannie before Deb while she's here, before we move on? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve item number 6.
Make the motion. Member
Member
Fontaine.
Fontaine. We'll have a motion. Do I have a second? Is that Member Gaines? Okay, Member Gaines is a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. I believe that's the last of our approval items, so thank you for that. Next up, we're going to item number 8, which is the biannual review. It's an update, biannual review of revenue sufficiency. And Deb is back up, or still up.
Thanks. So this item really, first it's a board policy that we report out twice a year, whether or not we have sufficient revenue to support our expenses, which includes our operating budget, capital expenses, as well as debt service in relation to the expected revenue. And so this really summarizes all 3 prior items. And I'm going to move to your second page of your summary memo where there's a table. And this data is copied right from the financial forecast, the peach area that we were just talking about. And again, you can see that rate covenant is above 1 times coverage throughout. We maintain our unencumbered cash balance of $350 million, and we meet our 2 times debt service coverage throughout the financial reporting period, which is FY27. So as a result, that means that we have sufficient revenue to support our program. So are there any questions?
Any questions for Deb on this one? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Next up is another update, the 3rd generation electronic toll collection. And this will be a duet with Deb and Will. So I'm not sure who's going to start off, but I'll turn the floor over to you.
Good morning, members. For the record, my name is Will Pines. I'm Chief Operating Officer for the MDTA. And I will be kicking things off talking about some of the post-transition operations. So we'll start right on slide 3 within your slide deck. So this is an update from the presentation that we provided last month, which gave you a schedule that we had for reaching the system acceptance. And we're now nearly 2 months into using the new system. We're doing detailed tracking of all issues, and a total count of the issues to date is up to 487, which is the most current count actually as of yesterday. So it's an update from what you're seeing on your slide. The volume of issues is large, but as we indicated previously, there have been no showstoppers to date. Most issues are minor, but we're prioritizing the quick fixes needed for customer-facing issues. We also do expect more issues to be uncovered as the escalation process resumes. And when I talk about escalation process, we're going to talk about this a little further on upcoming slides, but that's really referring to our mailings, citations, notices of toll due, and also the escalations to the MVA and central collections. To date, there have been 15 pre-30-day releases that have addressed 99 of those identified issues. 3 additional releases are currently being built now, which will address another 69 items. Given the quantity of the items addressed in the pre-30 days, we currently estimate, based on the volume of what's left from those pre-30 day items and the reprioritization that we've been working on with the vendors, that we estimate that the 30 and 60-day releases that will address defects and deferred functionality that we knew about pre-go live are currently approximately 2 months behind schedule. However, the team is working diligently with the vendors to come up with approaches to recover the schedule. One of the things that we're doing right now is to leverage a more agile approach where we're going to, instead of having larger builds like, for example, the 30 and 60 that we had planned before that had addressed 76 and 82 issues respectively, we're going to break those into smaller releases that are issued more frequently, because those 30 and 60-day releases are both just over 50% complete right now. There's portions of them that can be released sooner and not wait for the larger full builds. So that is one of our primary schedule recovery tactics right now. So migrating to the next slide. We are also working on a number of key focus areas. We continue to close out the artifacts of reports and documents related to the build. Deb is going to speak in more detail about the backlog, so I won't get into that too much, but this is obviously a major focus for us, especially given the connection to our revenue. Also, ensuring proper information from the lane side is going to the back office is really critical, so that we also help to make sure that we're tolling our customers correctly. And as we found any issues with that, which is included in the count that I noted previously, we are prioritizing those types of fixes to the top of the pile to make sure customer issues from the lane side are addressed. We're also closely working with the vendors to identify issues to ensure the system is meeting the KPIs and timely maintenance is occurring to lead towards system acceptance. The MDTA finance, IT, and operations team continue to work together collaboratively to define the roles and responsibilities for administering the contract long-term, including the aspects of performance management of the KPIs. And we've had a number of meetings with the vendors on their system acceptance plans to help us better understand which department is positioned to do the validation of the KPIs. Going to your next slide, slide number 5. As for specific risk tracking related to operational issues, we are closely tracking the metrics for the call center. Overall, the total day, the call wait times have been much better than when we first go live. However, we're starting to see some spikes in the call wait times, which tend to start closer to the lunch hour and are lasting throughout the day. We've seen an increase in the call wait times in the last few days, and we think that that's attributable to where most folks are now getting back out on the road and going through our toll facilities more regularly. They're starting to pay more attention to their tolls, and this has a corresponding increase in the call volume that's associated with it. Additionally, we have had some issues with the vendor having staffing shortages that are capable of handling Spanish calls. And so the Spanish times are a little bit longer, and they're currently working through some of their hiring agencies to try to get more Spanish staff on board. With the calls, we are tracking the reasons for the calls and continue to work with the vendors to resolve issues that are leading to the higher call volumes. There are also a large number of existing customer issues that rolled over from the prior NG system that our vendor is currently trying to work through as well. So the volume is some new issues, but also some older issues where individuals are calling in. Related to the transaction processing, again, Deb's going to talk about backlog more, but related to where we are to date. As of yesterday, we have nearly 6 million of the video transactions that were in our backlog posted to our customers' accounts, allowing them to pay electronically. If they pay those transactions online before the MDTA incurs the expense of the mailing, then we offer an early payment discount. So we're hopeful that as prior to us having this notice of toll due really resume in full force, that customers are taking advantage of this opportunity to pay their tolls online and to receive a cost savings from doing that. We have began doing control runs on citations. That has started, and our image certifiers within MDTA are keeping up with the certifications of those citations. So that process is really getting underway in full force. The notice of control, or the control runs for the notices of toll due, are starting up at the end of this month. We've already gotten a few of them worked, and I and Daryl and others have reviewed some drafts of those, and we're getting ready to go full bore on starting the mailing process. Additionally, the issue that we had noted previously, where during COVID, we had suspended escalations to the MVA and central collections. Those escalations are going to be resuming on July 1st with the end of the state of emergency. And then finally, last month, we had reported out on some of the issues that we were seeing with the image quality being kind of dark on certain vehicle images that are taken late at night, particularly dark vehicles. We have a task underway where some additional lighting has been installed, and we've completed the enlargement of the issue of the image on the mailing to make that more clear, so that when our customers get it, they can easily identify that it is their toll due. So with that, before I turn things over to Deb, I am happy to take any questions on the 3G operational perspective.
Do we have any questions for, it looks like, Member Rosen, were you getting ready to, I thought I saw your box light up.
Actually, I do have a question.
Great.
So you mentioned, well, and thanks for the report, so there are no showstoppers, and that's great. So 76 issues, the 1 month that we addressed, and then 82 issues. I mean, since sounds like a lot of these small coding issues in the software. What's kind of the nature of some of these issues?
This can be, there's a lot of different reasons for this. Some of them are issues where, for example, in our customer service centers, our employees every day as customers come in, if they're interacting in the system and they find that, hey, I've got to click 3 boxes and it's taken a long time to process. If you just made this one little tweak to the system, I would have a lot less wait time in the line. Those kind of things that we're working with the vendor to fix to make our operational speed with customer interactions faster. There are, however, we've had a few issues, for example, with tolling, where customers may have been, not a lot of customers, but a limited number of customers have gotten tolls that were not correct. Like, for example, on one of our, I think the BHT facility, for the turnaround at Child Street, the rate wasn't being properly applied for certain classes of vehicles. So those types of fixes are being implemented when we uncover them, and those are really being prioritized as the most critical. Obviously, we've got to get our toll rates correct when we're sending them out to our customers, because typically when we do have those kinds of issues, it immediately generates a phone call. So we want to take care of the things that are leading to higher call volumes first, so that we can get back to more stabilized business as quickly as possible. But we knew we set a hard go live date for the end of April, knowing that perfection is the enemy of progress. and that we wanted to be live and be in a position where we can process this backlog, get revenue coming in, and allow the customers to have the advantage of a lot of the system benefits, like the early payment discount that comes with the new system, and pay by plate and all of the other great new features. So we expected to encounter some issues, but the volume has been, even though they're not large issues, the volume has been large. And so as we work through that, it does cause a schedule impact. There's only so many code releases you can do in a short period. So we're working through trying to get the system acceptance as close to back on schedule as we possibly can as we complete all of these newly identified issues.
Great.
Thank you, Will.
Any other questions for Will on this? Will, I do have two things. One, I really like the fact that the folks that are sitting at the computer working on these things, once it goes live, are able to give some feedback and go, well, actually, this would really work better. I mean, you can't ask questions of the entire team on like the workflow process, but it's good that you guys are taking that, and then the company's able to take that and go, hey, you're right. It's like there's always some way that somebody that is using it every day that identifies, and that's great that we're able to do that. So that's really pretty good. The other thing you mentioned, the shortage of Spanish speaking, customer service reps. Is our scope of contract, does that allow us to, when we identify that, kind of float back and forth? We know at this time we may need more Spanish speaking, but in the future we might need to move to a different language. It sounds like we're pretty flexible in there. Is that correct?
So the contract does require Spanish speaking.
Okay.
As far as other future languages, I apologize, Sean, I'm not aware of a requirement in the contract to provide that. I do believe that there is a service available that MDTA, for example, I know we have a service where we can, I apologize, I'm blanking on the name of it.
Okay.
But it allows us to have a system that we can have our customer service rep utilize and be able to have like up to 100 different languages that we have access to. So there's some software that kind of helps with that, but that's a extra step that's not as quick for the customers having a Spanish speaking person directly on staff.
Sure.
But I do not believe, off the top of my head, I don't believe the contract has a requirement to cover any language.
Okay.
It's focused on English and Spanish at this point.
Okay.
But we do have tools to help accommodate other languages.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and obviously, when the contract was focused on what would be considered the most used at the time, so that's good. And I've seen those apps, for lack of a better term, like Google Translate. And I'm not promoting Google, but that's good that we have that ability to do that. So thank you.
I think Percy wants to jump in and offer some additional feedback on languages.
Okay, yeah, Percy, are you there? And I see it. We have a couple members questions as well. So, Percy, go ahead.
Just really quick. Thank you, Chair, and Will. Just really quick. Well, I think you're referring to our limited English proficiency program that's available to our employees. So I hope that was the name you were that slipped your mind.
Thanks, Percy. Will's got a lot of bridge stuff in his mind right now too.
Not any bridge in particular, like the
no, just bridges. So, Member Von Paris, I believe you had your hand up first, sir.
Okay, I just thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Will and Deb, for your presentations. Most of the questions have been answered because I thought you did a good job with the presentations. And I'm glad one of the questions I did have you address, and that's the capturing of the video images and the issue we had with lights and lighting. And I'm glad that's a priority. It seemed to be an issue, and I'm glad that we're on that and appreciate the follow-up. The other, I guess, do we have enough personnel to accomplish, to knock out all these issues and to provide the support we need to accomplish to get things correct it in a timely manner, a manner that is acceptable to the team.
So we did have a conversation as as the number of issues has grown, and as we've gotten a greater awareness of how many issues have rolled over from our prior vendor that came from our NG system. We are looking at staffing right now. We actually just had a conversation yesterday with our vendors about trying to build out a staffing plan to make sure we have a clear recovery approach to eliminate the backlog and get to a stable type of system. So I don't have a clear plan to offer today. I think by next month's board meeting update, we will certainly be able to speak more to that. And that's something that we're working with the vendor right now to try to make sure that we've got a clear path forward given the number of issues that are outstanding.
Thank you. And last, just a question. I know we've invested in marketing I guess Easy Pass and the way forward to try to transition as many people over to that. How are we doing with that? Or are we getting the results that we thought we were getting based on our investment in marketing? That's the last question I have.
Yeah, so probably the easiest way I can answer that question is part of the operating budget update that the team provided for FY22 included some of the additional costs for the additional Easy Pass accounts that we are managing now. So we have seen some growth in Easy Pass. We really think though that the marketing does work, and especially marketing that's really tailored to individual interactions where we meet up with customers at different events and have them sign up. We're constantly checking the numbers on how are we doing at Giants, how are we doing at the kiosk, at the MVAs, how's our marketing, the outreach type things, how's that generating interest in Easy Pass. But I think one of the big drivers towards Easy Pass penetration rates increasing is going to be when we really resume the mailings of our notice of toll dues in full force. We have a lot of them posted electronically now. I mentioned nearly 6 million. But when people start getting them in the mail and they realize like, hey, this is an all electronic tolling environment now, we're going to stay there. It's less convenient to deal with the mailings than it is to sign up for Easy Pass. And I'm going to save money as a customer when I sign up. So the transponder is free. There's no monthly fee. There's a lot of benefits to Easy Pass that I think, a lot of people, they get on the highway, they go to point A to point B, and they don't really want to think about it a whole lot. They're thinking about getting their soccer game or whatever their life's opportunity is. And Easy Pass may not be at the top of the mind. But when you start getting the mailings and it becomes a hassle, I think a lot more people are going to move over. That's what we're expecting.
Great.
I can also see, just looking at a revenue report, I mean, the numbers are low. I mean, we're talking 0.6%, but for the transactions that we processed in June, we're seeing pay by plate transactions. And that will also increase as we mail notices. And then, customers pay a lower toll by using pay by plate. And then they also, we don't pay the processing costs for mailing notices. So sometimes that might be an intermediate steps for customers that Easy Pass isn't the right solution for them. So that's why it was important that we provide additional options as well.
Great. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you both.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Member Gaines, yeah, your hand's up. Yes, sir.
Yes, I mean, I had something to say about the language issue again. I mean, I think that I don't think we should waste a whole lot of money and energy trying to develop other proficiency in other languages. I mean, we're stuck with Spanish. We got to have Spanish speaking helpers, but I don't think we want to go anywhere else because this is Maryland, you know, we want to encourage the people who drive to be able to read English. They got to read English, understand the signs, and then speak English. So I don't say that we are, but I don't think we should go down that alley. Let's, let's help the people who need it, who speak Spanish, but they should be encouraged also to develop a proficiency in English. So we don't want a balkanization of Maryland and have to have 12 different languages spoken, in order to drive on our highways. I think that's all.
Okay.
Just a minor comment on that is that, the only thing related to languages to consider related to costs is that the vast majority of the calls that we get into our customer service center are actually for general account maintenance, where people want to add money to their tolling account or pay a video toll, so it is a little bit of a revenue issue if we don't have a means to interact with our customers. But I think our system at this point is only designed to deal with English and Spanish.
Yeah, I know it's not an issue now, but let's not make it one.
Okay. Well, I did have one follow-up on the notice of toll dues. You mentioned the Easy Pass. When we send the notice of toll due, are we using that as an opportunity to message, hey, please get your Easy Pass?
Absolutely. We actually tell them how to sign up for Easy Pass on the NOTD. We tell them how much they would have saved if they had an Easy Pass. So it's pretty in your face to say this paper thing that you got in the mail that you're paying more money for, you would have done better if you had an Easy Pass. Absolutely.
That's good. People being able to see that example, and then also, hey, go to XYZ to sign up and the Easy Pass will be mailed to you. You guys are making it as easy as possible to get an Easy Pass. I mean, they can even stop in their local grocery store in most cases and pick one up. So okay, great. Keep that messaging rolling. And I know that on like any of the press releases you guys are doing on just about everything, you guys do take the opportunity to mention, hey, Easy Pass, the transponder's free. So I do appreciate your communications team constantly pushing that out as well. So great.
I mean, if there's opportunities today to order Easy Pass online, which is probably the most convenient way for everybody. But between Giant, Weiss, and the MVAs, one thing that many people may not realize is we have 6 customer service centers at MDTA, and then we have another 6 at MVA offices that are full service to deal with customer issues statewide. However, in addition to that, all MVA kiosks offer to be able to order an Easy Pass, and that's at our MVA statewide. And then one more layer on top of that, the MVAs that do not have full service, we also offer being able to order on-the-go transponders directly within the MVA, even separately from the kiosk. So with as many MVAs as there are statewide, and Giants and Weiss, there's a lot of in-person options available already today for customers to get an Easy Pass.
That's great. And, and a shout out to MVA, because not only do we have the MDTA customer service centers in the kiosk, but they also work with the Veterans Affairs and DNR on various things. So MVA is really becoming the go-to spot. And it's a testament to Administrator Nizer and her team over there for their willingness to allow folks to do this. And I think they're also doing some sort of a pilot for birth certificates at some point. They may not necessarily be at every MVA, but I know that they do want to get them available or have them available at some of the kiosks, or at least be able to order them. So it's great because it's one big Department of Transportation family. We're all able to work together, which is fantastic. So great job keeping that stuff out there. I see. Looks like Mr. Dangerfield has his hand up.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to offer to the group in regards to our ability or our requirement to offer limited English proficiency or language services to our customers. It is actually a Title VI federal regulation that we have to make all reasonable efforts to provide additional services for our customers that may have limited English proficiency. So I just wanted to share that with the group and have that be part of the conversation. That's all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for pointing that out, Percy, because, the Title VI, we have to certify that every year as a department, or not every year, but when we do our certifications, we have to certify that we've checked all the boxes that are required by that. So that was a good point. So thank you. But you know what? I think we're still on this because I believe Deb is up. So if we don't have any more questions for Will, we will move on to Deb.
Thank you. One additional thing to Member Rosen's, I think it's understood, but at the same time worth stating. When Will gave the example of Child Street, and he's talking about fixing so that we make sure that the Child Street discount is applied, there's anytime something like that happens, there's two sides of that fix. The first one is to make sure that all future is corrected. Doesn't occur, doesn't repeat. And then the other piece is, if a customer was not given a discount in this situation, is going back and making sure that that discount is given to the customer so that we make sure that the customer always remains whole. So I hope that was understood, that anytime we have an issue like that, we're doing, there's two sides to addressing that issue. So I'm moving on to slide 7 in your materials, COVID-19 forecasted traffic impacts versus actual. These are the graphs that we've presented to you for the last 6 months. And the first is the overall takeaway is traffic is meeting or exceeding the COVID-19 forecast. The dotted line represents the forecast, the solid lines are actual. And yes, we've had dips, right? We've had certain things that we've gone below, maybe some holidays, winter weather, but we have generally been at or above the forecast. And again, that's a good message for us. It means that any underperformance of revenue, it has to do with processing transactions as opposed to overestimating the traffic volumes. So next, I'm moving on to slide 8. This slide has many aspects that I've presented before, but I've also included June in it. In the past, we have not forecasted forward. We have stuck with where are we with our actual months. Now, when we prepared this a little over a week ago, we had paused processing transactions twice, both for customer reasons. For example, making sure that customers have a chance to replenish their EasyPass accounts. So not quite as many transactions have we processed in June than I was assuming at this point in time. But if I still step back and throughout, we've talked about how much revenue do we need to achieve to be assured that we're going to meet 2 times coverage. And for conservative reasons, I've always used $100 million. The number is actually a little higher than that. But, so where are we with what has been processed this month in relation to revenue? We are within $15 million of reaching the $100 million. And we still have a substantial amount of what we call home-on-home transactions to process. Maryland account holders traveling on Maryland roadways. So what I can leave you with in this slide and the future slides is, although we continue to work down the backlog of transactions and trying to balance the revenue needs of the agency, but also the customer needs so that they have opportunities to replenish their accounts or go online and make payments, we're going to achieve our revenue forecast. So if I move to the next slide, slide 9 and slide 10, it's the same information presented 2 different ways. The first slide on slide 9 breaks things down by facility. We call them legacy, which is everything except for the ICC and the ETLs. And then under the yellow border, you see the inter-county connector. And then the orange is express toll lanes and the purple is total. So in April, we had a significant decrease in comparison to the forecast. If you remember, it was $31 million, below forecast. And that had to do with the transition cutover and how we had the dark period where we had to stop processing transactions early in the month in order to finish the migration over. Now in May, the picture is brighter than what I had portrayed last month, and that's because we were able to prioritize some home-on-home legacy transactions, and the legacy transactions is the bulk of our revenue. So when we're able to process those transactions, it has a greater impact on our revenue. So that's why May is underperformed by 7 million. But again, we're talking about processing partial months, and I'll talk about that some more in 1 second. So cumulatively, as of May, we were $81 million below forecast. So I'm going to jump to slide 11, which is where are we in regards to processing the backlog. The schedule at the top with the yellow and pink shading, this is the original backlog plan that was presented to you at the April board meeting. And at that time, the plan was looking at transactions on a weekly basis as opposed to a daily basis. And so when comparing where are we as of 5/31 in relation to where we had said we were going to be in April, the original plan, is the legacy and ETL AVI transactions. And remember, AVI means the transponder read. We had a 2-day lag, which of 2-day transaction lag, which is equivalent to 1 calendar day. And by the end of the year, we will expect to process through June 30th, particularly for home-on-home. It may be only midway through the month for home-on-away. When we have ICC AVI transactions, again, transponder read, we had a 20 transaction day lag, which is 10 calendar days, and it will be current by mid-July. And then when it comes to all facilities, images, and images can be an Easy Pass transaction where it ends up being an iToll, where we match the license plate to an Easy Pass account, or it could be a pay by plate, or it could be a future video toll. We were 27 transaction days or 14 calendar days, and the same processes we expect to be current in mid-July. So the table underneath, when we look at the number of days processed, and so when it comes to Maryland transactions, 24, this is legacy and ETL AVI. So in the month of May, we processed 24 out of 31 days. That's the reason for the underperformance of $7 million in May. You can see that when you look at all of the other types of transactions, we processed far more than just 31 days, number of calendar days in May. We processed, we made up progress for the backlog. And again, part of the legacy is turning it off and on, making sure toll rates are accurate, making sure customers have an opportunity to keep their accounts funded. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Deb? Great. Thank you, Will, Deb, and Percy for pinch hitting in and out for some pertinent information. Did I see a hand go up? Okay, good. All right, with that, we'll move on to item number 10, a toll rate phase 1 south, American Legion Bridge update. American Legion Bridge I-270 to 370 update. Carl Chamberlain. Carl, are you on the line?
I am, Sean. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take it away, sir.
All right, thank you. So I'm Carl Chamberlain. I'm a project manager in the Division of Planning and Program Development. I'm also the PM for the toll rate range setting process. Throughout the process, we'll continue to provide updates. Sorry, hold on just a second. My phone has been ringing here. So my apologies. So we will continue to provide updates on the process to the MDTA board as it moves forward. In this update, I will focus on logistics of the upcoming meetings. I'm going to put on mute just a second here to take off my phone. Sorry about that, everybody. Of course, my phone would ring exactly at the time when I would start my presentation, as it rung all morning. So let's get back into the update. So I'm going to go through the summary section, which you'll see next. The MDTA has scheduled 2 public hearings, one in person on July 12th and one call-in testimony on June 14th. The hearings will provide an opportunity to comment on the proposed toll rate ranges for the official record through verbal public comment or one-on-one testimony or through written comment. The public will be able to listen live to the hearings by telephone or live stream on the project website. So a couple of details on the in-person meeting first. So as I mentioned, Monday, July 12th will be the in-person meeting. It will be held at the Hilton, Washington, D.C. Rockville Hotel and Executive Meeting Center, located at 1750 Rockville Pike in Rockville, from 2 to 4 and from 6 to 8. You'll see we have 2 sessions each of the days to accommodate whenever people are available to attend those hearings. There's going to be limited printed copies of the information boards that will be available to review for people that are there. And all MDTA staff and participants at the in-person hearing will be required to follow current CDC guidance regarding COVID-19 precautions. And this will and then specifically, there will also be some hotel policies, which we're still working through. My guess is that they will sort of match the CDC guidance, but if the hotel has any other specific policies, we'll need to make sure that we follow those as well, again, because we're using a hotel space. During the sessions, a limited number of registrants may be allowed in a socially distanced manner in the testimony room. Now, when I say limited, it is a pretty big testimony room, so we will be able to accommodate a good number of people in there. However, any observers or any people that are in the queue that are waiting to present testimony will be required to wait in a designated space. This will be within the building, and again, in a socially distanced manner. So for a couple of details on the call-in. So as I mentioned, Wednesday, July 14th is the call-in. Again, we're going to have 2 sessions, one from 2 to 4 and one from 6 to 8. The call-in testimony public hearing sessions will allow an opportunity for verbal public testimony by telephone. And what you'll notice is, to the best degree possible, the goal is to make both the in-person and call-in sessions as consistent as possible. Part of this is for the ease of testimony for the public, and part of that is for our side as well. Now, I'm going to go through a little quick piece on registration. So registration to provide testimony at either hearing can be completed online by visiting the project website or by calling 888-725-0174. Verbal public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes for the public and 5 minutes for elected officials. This is a policy that we've had in the past for public hearings as well. And for those who wish, one-on-one testimony can be provided at the in-person testimony via a court reporter in a separate area. So we do have that accommodation for people. For review of material, MDTA is encouraging review of all public hearing materials prior to attending a public hearing. I did mention we'll have some limited printed copies for people if they need it, but everything is online and everything's available in that virtual information room on the project webpage. I encourage all the board members to take a look at that as well if they haven't had a chance. Now, if hearing materials are inaccessible online for some people, or if special accommodations are required under the Americans with Disabilities Act, or language translation services are required, and this is free of charge for anybody if they request it, the MDTA is asking that those requests be made to the MDTA's Title VI officer at least 10 days prior to the meeting, so we can make sure we can accommodate that for those people. Next, I'm going to go through the ways to comment. This is information I would have presented at the last meeting, but just as a reminder to everybody and anybody that may be listening to this meeting, all the ways that we comment. We do have a lot of ways and a lot of different avenues for people to comment because we want to make it as accessible as possible. So firstly, the comment period did open on May 20th, and it will remain open through August 12th. And in addition to providing verbal testimony at at one of the in-person or call-in testimony public hearings. MDTA is also accepting written comments and call-in testimony through voicemail for the official record through August 12th. We have an electronic comment form at our website, and this is the easiest manner. It's really user-friendly. You just click through the questions, pop in your comments, and it gets processed sort of like automatically as we go. That's the easiest way for us to process. It's also the easiest way for people to provide their comments. So I do encourage people to use that electronic comment form if possible. Now you can also download a PDF version of that comment form and email it to us to the email address on our public or on our webpage. In addition, you could also print that comment form and mail it to us. And again, that mailing address is on our website. You can call the phone number that's on our website and leave a comment by voicemail. And this is set up the same way as the public testimony. So if you do plan to call and leave a voicemail, we do suggest that you keep it to 3 minutes for people, the public, or 5 minutes for a elected official. And again, that gets processed right into our public comment system. And again, I'll just make one more pitch. We do encourage people to use the comment form. Partially, this allows us to process those comments in a consistent way, but it also, I think, it's going to make it easier for the board members to review this material in the future, again, in a way that is consistent to reviewing those comments. And lastly, all comments received, whether they're at a hearing or through any other method, will be given equal consideration. I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. And the last thing I'm just going to go through here is, what are the next steps? So quickly, just so everybody's aware of some of the things that we've done to date. So we did open the comment period, and we, on the same day that we opened the comment period, we posted all the materials for people to review for that comment period to our website. In addition, we did a news release, elected official notification, e-blast to stakeholders, social media posts, and legal ad was posted to announce all this information. And we also distributed flyers out in that area in 15 different languages. So since we've announced the dates, and just as a reminder, when we opened up the comment period at the last meeting, we opened up the period without announcing the dates, and I think we announced them a week or week and a half later. But since announcing those hearing dates, we did a second round of all those notifications. So the news releases, elected official notifications, e-blasts, social media posts, legal ad, all that stuff was done a second time to make sure that all that information also included the addition of the hearing dates. And then what you'll see is continued notification and advertising will continue up into the hearing dates to include the information on the hearing date. And then, of course, once we get past the hearings, there's still some additional comment period. So we'll continue to do that advertising so people are aware of when that comment period is going to end. Now, in the future, the rest of the process from sort of here on out is, again, just as a reminder for the board members, this is information I had went through at the last meeting, but after the last public hearing, MDTA will continue to accept written public comments until August 12th. On August 26th, which is 10 business days after the comment period closes, a comment summary and analysis will be posted to the MDTA webpage. MDTA staff will present the comment summary and analysis and recommended total rate range proposal to the MDTA board during an open and live stream meeting. The public will have an additional minimum 10 business day comment period following that board meeting, which will remain open until October 14th. You'll see that's a lot more than the minimum 10 days. And then any comments received during the second comment period, do the same thing. Again, we'll summarize them, analyze them, post that information to the MDTA website prior to the October meeting. And then we will present to the MDTA board all of that information with the final recommended total rate range proposal. Now, the last piece of this is the public will have one last opportunity to provide a public comment on the final recommended total rate range proposal at that October board meeting. And they can provide that comment at the board meeting by registering ahead of time. With that, that's all the information I have, all the update I have for this month. Again, expect additional updates as we move forward, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Carl. I guess I remember fondly our time at the toll modernization hearings back in the year of 2019, where we were all up and down the state. So that was a lot of fun. This time we just have two, one in person and one call in, so it won't be quite the same as that type of schedule. So appreciate the update. This is great to give the members a baseline of what to expect. And of course, you're always available for questions. And speaking of that, absolutely. I see that Member Gaines has popped his hand up, sir. Member Gaines, you're on mute, sir.
There we go.
There you go.
I think this is probably for Will, but Carl can jump in too. According to media reports, the project has been successfully killed by this Maryland, Virginia Environmental Group. So, I mean, are we whistling through the graveyard here, or is this project still alive?
So I'll give my quick interpretation, and certainly I'll let Deb or Will or anybody else also chime in after I give my piece of it, which is we are the toll setting process is an independent process from the environmental review and environmental process that's going on. It's also separate from the procurement process. They do happen to be running on parallel processes right now and happening sort of at the same time, but nothing precludes or prevents us from continuing with the toll rate setting process, again, because we've always considered it an independent process. So from my perspective and from the MDTA's perspective, we're going to continue to move forward with this toll rate setting process as we've laid out. And I do believe the P3 team and others are working on their side to resolve any issues that might be popping up on their side. And with that, I'll let, again, anybody else, Deb or Will, sort of chime in and provide any additional perspective they might want to provide.
With the project, we have from MDTA and our support for the P3, our course hasn't changed. So there's been no directions, no statements that we're continuing to move forward.
Yeah, and Member Gaines, just MDTA will continue to move forward to check the boxes that they need to check to be prepared. So this is, as Carl said, this is a necessary step, and they're going to the team MDTA will continue to work through that. So hopefully,
I understand this is a step along the way, but if there's a wall in front of us, we can run right into it in a couple of months. I mean, the media seems to think that that they've got it stopped for whatever. Why they want to do that, I don't know, but.
Well, I mean, and it is, if you've seen the latest media accounts, we've reached back out with some response. So, just stay tuned is all I would say.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just to follow up, Sean, on you mentioned the 2019 hearings that we did. So, so for everybody that was involved in those 2019 hearings, I think the only thing that you'll see different from the in-person hearing that we're going to be doing is just the social distancing, the COVID precautions that we're going to be having in place. I know Board Member Ardinger, I don't believe you were involved in that, so this will be new for you, but it's exciting, and so I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And then one of the things that we'll do is, and just sort of a heads up for everybody, since we've got the in-person happening before the call-in, and the call-in testimony is going to be something a little bit new, I think, for the board members. I mean, certainly not any different than what we're doing for these board meetings, but what we'll do is we'll run through with some logistics for you as well, during any downtime we have during the in-person hearing, just to give you guys some information for where. We also have a one-pager that we put together for some logistics for the call-in that we'll be sending it out to you ahead of time. So certainly you'll have plenty of information on that. And if you have any questions or anything comes up, or again, you have any questions, certainly feel free to reach out.
Great, thanks. Any other questions for Carl? Hearing none, seeing no hands in the air. Thank you, sir. Next up, Brian, I believe you are up with the major projects. Brian Wolf, major projects valued over $40 million. So Brian, take it away, sir. 2 days in a row we get to catch up. This is great.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, members. My name is Brian Wolf. I am Director of Project Development for the Office of Engineering and Construction, and I'm filling in today for Acting Chief Engineer Jim Harkness, who's out of the office this week. So I guess referring to your meeting materials, there is a table labeled MDTA major capital projects valued greater than $40 million. There are 10 projects on the list, and of those, 6 are under active construction. And just a sampling of that includes the third generation electronic toll collection, which we just heard about a few minutes ago. It also includes the Nice Middleton Bridge replacement where work continues on the bridge foundations, as well as several piers on the Maryland approach, where the contractor's preparing for girders to be erected in the next couple of months or so. It also includes the I-95 Northern Transition Project, the ETLs from 43 to just south of Maryland 152. That's part of the overall I-95 ETL northbound extension program. And that contract was just kicked off last month, and so it's in the ramp up stages, and things will begin to ramp up over the next few months. We have 2 projects in procurement. One is the I-95 Belvedere Road interchange, and the MDTA team is currently evaluating proposals. They've been submitted from bidders, and so it's working through that process. We also have another ETL northbound extension contract. This is the Maryland 152 interchange. It was advertised last month and is currently working its way through the procurement and bidding phase for a bid opening later in July. And then lastly, we have 2 projects that are in the design phase. The eastbound Bay Bridge Rehabilitation Phase 1, which the board, I believe, approved last month. That project is just beginning to ramp up in the design and will be ongoing for months to come. And then the second project in design is the envelope and switchgear replacement at the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel vent buildings. That project, I believe the design is wrapping up and it should be going to procurement here shortly, if it hasn't already, for an anticipated ad in August. With that, that's the list we have for this month, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Brian? And thank you for pinch hitting this month. Member Cox? Yes, sir.
Let me ask you a question as far as maybe an update a little bit on the switching and just where it is as far as at the Bay Bridge, the automatic switching versus the switching that's been in place for many, many, many years as far as manual.
So you're referring to the automatic gate system down at the Bay Bridge?
Yes.
So my understanding, and actually Will might be a little more up to speed on this one. My understanding that that's moving along, and that work is progressing. I'm not aware of there being any major issues with the implementation of that work right now. But I can certainly look into that to provide you a more detailed answer. I don't have as much involvement in that project as some of the other projects.
The only reason, I mean, I noticed this past week, actually this week, with the backups and obviously the seasonal that we see, but I'm sure with the automatic switching when it's completed, it'll help along as far as timing, that type of thing. So I know we've had some projections, but is it on schedule? Maybe Will can answer. Is it on schedule? Where are we on as far as that switching?
Okay. Yeah, I can certainly check into that. But as far as I'm aware, I have not heard of any delays on it. And you're correct. The intent of that, using that gate system, is to make the transition more efficient. Obviously, when you have a manual operation where you're moving barrels and cones, that does take time, and obviously you have MDTA folks that are out on the road, which is obviously a safety issue. And so the gate system is to help alleviate both those situations. But I can certainly look into that for you to get you a more detailed answer on the schedule.
Hey, Brian, this is Nafez Al-Qasim. I'm the Deputy Director of Project Development, Brian's deputy. I also serve as the project manager for one of those projects, the one on the Annapolis side. Yes, they are both progressing on schedule. We have no issues with the delays and what have you. They are progressing on schedule. They will alleviate the traffic congestion. Although the backups that we've been seeing lately, they are more volume driven than what's going on down at the Bay Bridge. It's due to the increase in volume. That's what was attributed to. But we are also working on installing some PVMS signs to alert motorists on what's going on and delays and what have you. Hopefully they'll take different routes if possible. But again, both BB 3014 and BB 3008 are on schedule.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Nafez.
Nafez.
Hey, and one thing, Member Cox, I think to tag on to what Nafez said about volume driven on the delays, it's important to note that the volume is coming from both sides. So, you know, there reaches a point where it becomes difficult to switch in some points the contraflow because the volumes coming westbound are high enough to where it's just not conducive to doing that. So that's what they're facing down there. They're seeing it coming from both sides. So, but
I witnessed that on Monday.
Oh, really? You got both ways, huh? Great, thank you. Any other questions for Brian? Okay, hearing none. I'm sorry, I was on mute. Hearing none, the next item up for bid is item number 12, IT major projects, and David Goldsboro's on the line. David, take it away, sir.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the introduction, and good morning to the board. Once again, my name is David Goldsboro. I am the Director of Information Technology for the Transportation Authority, and the purpose of this presentation is to provide our quarterly updates to the MDTA board on the Division of Information Technology's current activities. As of June 24th, 2021, the Division of Information Technology maintains an active portfolio of 19 projects. The portfolio has remained constant since the last update to the board, and actually probably over the past several updates, we've remained pretty steady at that number. We are expecting a few new projects to come in, given the return to work status, some things that are probably going to loosen up with budget that will add maybe about 4 more projects, and we will provide an update at the next quarterly board meeting for the update for IT. DoIT continues to support the MDTA workforce that has shifted to a telework status, as well as personnel that are working on site and at the MDTA facilities. Given the return to work requirement, we are rotating our employees into the office for the remaining weeks of June, ramping up for a full return the week of July 5th. Last week at the 25% mark, we had our security team in, our network team, and our service desk. This week, we've rotated in a lot of our infrastructure team, our applications team, as well as some of our management staff, and we will do the same thing next week. As of July 5th, DoIT will be back to normal operations on site, that existed pre-pandemic. I think everyone is looking forward to getting back and getting the camaraderie going with the staff. Post-go live support of the 3rd generation tolling system continues. We have shifted one resource back to a 50% capacity on that project to focus on some of the IT project portfolio responsibilities that individual had. I think it made sense just to do some resource balancing, and we were able to shift some of the activities that individual was handling on 3G, that is. Some of the other significant initiatives that DoIT continues to work on, our cybersecurity measures, always something very important for us. We are gearing up for our 2-factor or multi-factor authentication, which pretty much requires when someone logs into the system and puts their password in, there is a secondary requirement for another authentication factor, whether that be a PIN or a code, something that is sent to your phone or a VPN token if any of you have ever used those before. After July 1, we are gearing up for the next round of penetration testing. We did that about 2.5 years ago and came through with a very good report from the company that did it for us. We're looking to do another round of that, and I'm always very eager and excited to see that, because I think it just gives us an opportunity to, to see what we don't know. Because famous saying is you don't know what you don't know, but we're looking forward to that. And that'll be after the July 1 timeframe. We're still working on conversion to the new Salesforce Lightning platform. That's a major initiative. Again, post go live with 3G, our eForms platform, we're ramping up. We brought some very good resources on board to get our Liquid Office suite up and running and get a lot of our eForms in place to get rid of a lot of the paper. We also are actively working on converting the purchasing card system that's been in place for a long time to our newer platform that is sorely needed because it's really on an outdated platform. So we're excited to get that completed, and we look to have that completed over the coming months, and we'll provide updates as appropriate. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my quarterly update. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Well, great. Thank you, sir. Any questions for David? Yeah, appreciate all of that. And as you know, the cyber security with all the ransomware, you know, we've had everything from the Colonial Pipeline to recently the what was it, the beef industry was hit with it. So it's just amazing how that's in governments and everything else. So we appreciate your diligence on not only that, but everything, and keeping the employees up and running during you know, VPN and to do you know, teleworking and everything else. So I know that your department and our IT department across MDOT really had to step up, and not that you weren't doing a great job, but it just like threw extra things on you to be able to immediately transition to have thousands of people and then maintain that the network has the stability to do it. I know that you guys were constantly doing stress tests and doing all that kind of stuff, and I can't recall any major hiccups. There were always, you know, there's always something that happens, but for the most part, I think we were 99.999% of the time up and running. So I think we were in good shape employee-wise. So I appreciate that.
Yes, that's a great point. Thank you so much, Chairman Powell. We as you said, the work just shifted going to a telework environment, and I think I may have mentioned this back in one of my updates before the new year. The high watermark for the VPN was 5,000 users.
Right.
That's pretty impressive that technology stack was able to withstand that level of use. And I do appreciate, I do want to say, you know, hats off to Ron Brothers and the team at TSO, all of the TBUs. We met weekly as a director, you know, layer, and with Ron and his team. And I think everybody really band together, and I appreciate all the support that we got from your office as well. It's just been fantastic. And I know folks are excited to get back. I think, you know, the hybrid environment, whatever that might look like, I think could be in the cards for us. I think folks, you know, can utilize telework to its advantages, but yeah, I think we're looking forward to getting back.
Yeah, there's nothing like being able to, in some cases, just walking down the hall to sit down and have a conversation.
Exactly.
That you know, we're looking forward to getting back in person for these board meetings. So
right.
You know, that's an example. And you know, and thank you. I'll pass along your shout out to Ron and his team, because that's an example almost identical to our MVA team. You know, the team effort with MVA and providing other services across MDOT. So it's just another example of how we've worked together or continue to work together. But it's nice that it's one big family that has several different you know, branches of the family. But when things happen, we are all there together and working together. So, and IT really brought to light the necessity for that. I mean, not that we weren't doing it before, but just a great job on that all around. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, sir. Next up will be item number 13, Civil Rights Fair Practices, Socioeconomic Programs, update on the fiscal year 2021 third quarter performance. And we have Tawanda Livingston on the line. So Tawanda, take it away, please.
Chairman Powell, I'm sorry,
Yes,
Tawanda actually can't make it today, so I'm gonna pitch hit. And,
okay. Well, you have some standards to live up to, because she did a great job last time. So.
Exactly. Right. No pressure at all. For the record, my name is Percy Dangerfield. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for MDTA. I also serve as the Fair Practices Officer for MDTA, and per the board operating policy, I'm going to provide an overview or a summary of our socioeconomic programs to the board. So jumping into the report, those socioeconomic programs I'm referring to is our Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, DBE program, Minority Business Enterprise, or MBE program, our Small Business Reserve, SBR program, and our Veteran-Owned Small Business Enterprise, VSBE program. And this report will actually cover quarters Q1 through Q3 to date. The first chart, Table 1, depicts the information related to our DBE program, which for MDTA basically consists of the 5 contracts related to the Nice Middleton Bridge project. They have an estimated value of $531 million. Referring to Table 1, I'm happy to report to the board that the tracking and the compliance related to these 5 contracts are consistent. There are no anticipated issues with meeting the goal for the DBE program for those particular items. Reflecting on Table 2, talks about our MBE program. Again, this is for quarter 1 through quarter 3. We're able to derive our numbers with respect to tracking our goals by looking at the total contract dollar awards that are made to MBE firms and the total contracting community. This actually, during this period, MBE firms received $100 million, which is 19.64% of the $509 million total contract awards. And these numbers do represent 6 different contracting areas: construction, architects and engineering, maintenance, information technology services, and supply and equipment. Table 3 also looks at different business classifications and contracting areas for the same quarter. African-American firms received approximately $24.8 million, which is 24.85% of the $100 million in total contract awards. Hispanic American firms received $4.9 million. Asian American firms received $14.4 million. Women-owned firms received $43 million, and Native American firms received $12.6 million percent. So again, these numbers are tracking very well for this particular reporting period, and we don't anticipate any issues with meeting the overall goals. If you take a look at Table 4, this speaks to our Small Business Reserve Program, which is a mandated program through executive order. This particular chart depicts our utilizations, again, for quarters 1 through quarter 3. And during this period, the SBR program received SBR designated firms received $8.3 million, which is 2.11% of the $395.4 million that was available for the Small Business Reserve. Lastly, the table also reflects information or payments for our VSBE participation. During this time period, VSB certified firms received $5.2 million, which equates to 1.02% of the $509 million in contracts awarded. Now, in summary, all the programs are tracking well, and we don't anticipate not meeting our goals for any of the programs. But as noted in the tables, our SBR program at 2.11%. Is behind. It still remains a challenge for the organization, particularly since SBR, to be designated as SBR, it's a self-certifying designation. So we're still having efforts to move toward outreach and helping firms be certified so we can actually capture their participation. But we'll continue working forward. We'll continue looking at our contracts that are made available for SBR designation and do what we can to meet the overall state 15% goal. That's an overview of the reporting requirements for these particular contracts. I'm available for questions. I also have staff that are available to answer any questions for the board. Thank you, Chair.
Great, thank you, Percy. We'll let Tawanda know that you did pretty good.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate you your pinch hitting. You've been popping in and out today, so thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Percy before we go to item number 14? Is that member? Okay, I don't see any hands. That's great. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Item number 14, a verbal update for the audit committee, member Cox. He's promised to be less than 4 hours for this, so.
Right, and member Arger will pinch it after 10 minutes, okay?
Anyhow, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The audit committee met on June 10th. The office of the audit is on track to complete 9 of the fiscal year 2021 audit plan. 7 audits are completed and 2 are in progress. 2 internal audit reports were presented. Fleet management audit, validation of waivers of video tolls and civil penalties audit. And obviously we questioned Paul on any items that we thought were prevalent, but he answered our questions, and we were satisfied that the results of the audit.
Great. That wasn't quite 4 hours, so
we cut it. I cut it down a little bit.
You cut it down a little bit. Do we have any questions for Member Cox? Thank you, sir, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing none. We're now going to revert back to item number 3, the years of service recognition. And Chief of Staff Mary O'Keefe, you're up, ma'am. I'm not sure if we had any of the retirees or employees able to join us, so I'll leave that to you to navigate. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you. On behalf of MDTA Executive Director Jim Ports, I'm here to present the resolutions and as well as Executive Director remarks on his behalf. For the record, my name is Mary O'Keefe. So for this board meeting, it's my honor and privilege. We have 4 retirement resolutions. I'd like to mention them. We have Senior Officer Vance E. Belcher from MDTA Police. He was retiring, and he started with our MDTA Police Officer 1 on May 10th, 2000. And he was promoted to on 2001, and then promoted to Police Senior Officer on March 7th, 2012. So Senior Officer Vance E. Belcher is retiring, and we recognize him for that. We also have retiring from MDTA Toll Collection Shift Supervisor Annette Williams. She began her career here with the MDTA on January 15th, 1996, and rose through the ranks to become Toll Collector 2 in 1997, MDTA Toll Collector 3 in 1999, and she was recognized and promoted to MDTA Toll Collection Shift Supervisor in 2005. So she too is retiring after many years of dedicated service. We have a third one, Nancy E. Biles. She's an Executive Administrative Assistant, and she's leaving the MDTA after starting here July 1st, 1987. And through her ranks, through her time here, she's promoted as well to Typist Clerk 4 in 1988, Office Secretary 1 in 1992, Office Secretary 2 in 1995, continued building her knowledge and skills, and was promoted to Administrative Assistant 2 in 1997, Administrative Assistant 3 in 1999, and to Executive Administrative Assistant in 2019. So Nancy, after a very successful career, is retiring as well. And our final retirement to be recognized this month is Danny L. Sawyers, a skilled trade specialist supervisor. And Mr. Sawyers began his career here at the MDTA as an electrician 1 in 1990. He continued to progress through his specialization in trade and became electrician 2 in 1991 and received a title change to skilled trade specialist in 1997. And in 2005, he was recognized for his skill and promoted to trade specialist supervisor. So he too is retiring. Each one of our retirees will receive a resolution from the board, framed, and will be mailed to them to recognize their well deserved and long and dedicated career with the MDTA.
Great. Thank you, Mary, so much, and I'd like to thank all the employees who've retired, thank them for their service, and wish them well in their retirement, and just so they know MDTA is always home. So I'm sure they're going to be welcome at their shops and offices whenever they happen to stop by, because they're still family. So thank you for that presentation. Oh, and Mary, guess what? You're up next. The Executive Director's Report on behalf of Executive Director Jim Ports.
Thank you very much. Sticking with the theme of family and welcoming employees back, as David mentioned, we will be coming back with almost full strength after the July 4th holiday. People who were teleworking will be returning to the work site. This is made possible, as you know, Maryland's continued its recovery in COVID-19, and we have all of the appropriate health and safeguards in place. The board probably knows this, but just to put a number on it, it's been over 15 months that we've had to live during the pandemic, and our employees definitely have persevered in what we all hope is a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. So we're looking forward to them coming back, and we know we're not alone returning to work. You know, as we see from our MDTA facilities, traffic volumes are increasing, and you know, as other people return to the work site and travel for vacation. So next time we meet, we will have more people on site, and as you mentioned, Mr. Chairman, the ability to meet face to face and to talk directly is skills I'm gonna have to brush off. It's been a while with all of the teleworking. We had an announcement in early June where our new park and ride lot associated with the ETL expansion program opened on in early June. It's at Maryland 924 and Woodsdale Road near the I-95 interchange at Maryland MD 24 and 924. Glad to bring this new facility to the people in the area. As we know, the ETL program is an important part of relieving congestion along the I-95 corridor, and this facility is going to benefit commuters through the Baltimore region every day. The park and ride has 265 spaces. It includes bicycle facilities and accommodations for transit connections for the Maryland or MTA sister TBU, Harford County bus service, and we've extended sidewalks along the northbound 924 and into the park and ride facility. So the construction began on June 15th, 2020. And this is another example of an MDTA project that we were able to safely complete and continue during COVID-19. So we keep working. Also beyond the park and ride, we are continuing the I-95 ETL northbound extension between 43 and Maryland 24. We're part of completing 10 miles of improvements, as I mentioned. We are expecting that the traffic will be open 2024 to Maryland 152, and then in 2027 up through MD 24. So that's something that we continue to modernize that facility. And as you all know, we are continuing to recognize our 50th anniversary this year, along with MDOT, who is also recognizing their 50 years. And to mark the occasion, we've been sharing some MDTA history tidbits with the board and with our employees through our Connections, which is our internal newsletter. So, what MDTA facility opened in 1963? The answer is the JFK, the John F. Kennedy Memorial Highway. It's a 50 miles section from I-95 from the northern Baltimore City line up to Delaware. So now our ETLs run right up along that as well. We currently have our tolls collected in the northbound direction, 1 mile north of the Millard E. Tidings Memorial Bridge, which is located over the Susquehanna River. Our two travel plazas, MDTA's two travel plazas, service that area. We have the Chesapeake House and the Maryland House. Each of them serve millions of customers annually, and both of them were able to stay open during COVID to service the traveling public. As I mentioned, in 2014, 8 miles of express toll lanes opened between I-895 and White Marsh. So this is one of our facilities getting a lot of modernization. And then most recently, starting this past month, construction related to all electronic tolling at the facility began, and it will continue through September. It will convert the middle lanes of the toll plaza into highway speed lanes by removing the toll islands in the toll booths. The plaza's middle lanes, 5 through 9, will be closed 24/7, weather permitting, and we're allowing safe overflow traffic in the other lanes. So we'll be putting in an overhead gantry with tolling equipment that will be installed less than a mile south of the plaza. And once the work is completed, in the middle lanes of the plaza, northbound traffic will shift to these new lanes. With the traffic in the new lanes, the MDTA will remove the remaining toll booths and the canopies, 9 through 12. And these interim improvements for AET are anticipated to be completed by early 2022. So that's the JFK moment in history of our JFK facility. And also on a final note, I'd like to remind everybody to, please drive safely on MDTA facilities and all Maryland highways. It's the 4th of July holiday coming up. A lot more people are moving about, and we hope that everyone drives safely, our customers, our board members, our employees, and to adhere all traffic signs and notices. And Mr. Chairman and board, this concludes the Executive Director report for June.
Great, thank you, Mary. Do we have any questions for Mary? Okay, so when we all meet again, MDTA will be a fresh 50-year-old, ready for the second third of life or whatever. So I neglected to mention the 50th or the 50th anniversary of both MDTA and the Department of Transportation in the beginning, and it's very exciting. So we are working on some celebrations, both jointly and separately. Obviously, MDTA is working on a few things. As Mary mentioned, there's been some social media posts. The communications teams have done a great job crossing and sharing information on both things. And Mary pointed out one of the trivia questions. They've been putting those out there all across for the last 50 days, which is really great. So big shout out to the communications team for putting this important event out there, and just stay tuned for any other events that may be popping up or any other opportunities. But with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Okay, I heard a motion from Member Gaines. Any second? Do I have a second?
Second. Member Carroll.
Okay. Are there any opposed to adjourning the meeting at 10:55 a.m. on June the 24th? I was trying to get all that in so I didn't have to say what time we're adjourning the meeting. So thank you very much. We will reconvene on the July meeting, but in the interim, there are 2 of the toll hearing meetings that Carl covered. So thank you all, and have a great day.
Have a good day.
You too, Mr. Chairman.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.